the passion igniting the light through highs and lows. We'll stand as one, a legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together we roar, together we roar. The Detroit Lions will rise, with a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. So let's lift our voices, let's turn it up loud. For the love of the Lions, we'll always be proud.
Not only proud, but the Detroit Lions don't flinch, and the best teams in the NFL don't flinch. Heard a little topic last night about the Detroit Lions from Herm Edwards that I want to bring in. Talking about the Detroit Lions potentially being the best team in the NFL. Yes, better than Chiefs, better than the Eagles, better than everybody else. He feels the Detroit Lions are the absolute best team in the NFL. Eric, good morning, man. What's happening?
Hey, I am doing fantastic today, as always. I got to tell you something. So last night I tuned into your show with TUES and listening about the Jaguars, and the theme song for the show came on, and I'm bebopping around doing my thing, and I'm lip syncing to it, and I got my earbud in, right? I'm not saying anything out loud. My wife's like, "What are you listening to?" I was like, "It's the theme show. It's the theme show to the song." She's like, "Why are you singing along?" I'm like, "Cause it's fun." Show's awesome, and every morning I try to lip sync a little bit with it while you're just showing you and me, and nobody's caught on yet. Nobody's like, "Oh man, look at him go."
I was gonna break out some some air guitar or some drumsticks or something one of these days, but I don't know, that's just not me, I guess. It gets a little catchy, after a while, after you listen to it. I've had quite a few comments. Matter of fact, there's been a lot of people that have commented or sent in questions that, hey, where can I download this song? Who sings this song?
Yeah.
I created the song. I mean, it's up in the YouTube. You guys can download it if you have the premium. I don't know. Maybe there's a way that I can make. I don't want to say a CD because that's old school, but there's got to be a way you can download it. You know what I mean? There has to be a way I can make it happen.
Put it on YouTube Music, and anybody can get it right from there.
I never thought about that. I don't even know how to do that, so I'll have to look.
It's just like a video.
So, it's up as a video now, but yeah. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about today. It's going to be cut short. I've got to go get new tires. I'd rather be in the woods. Much rather be in the woods today. I haven't hunted in a while. But to all the hunters out there, man, be safe out there. Be careful.
Today's the day, because somebody was saying yesterday, they contacted me on social media, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm out in my deer blind. I'm listening to you guys right now."
There we go. To all the hunters listening right now, good luck. Be safe. A lot of injuries tend to happen on opening day and tree stand injuries. And I met a guy last year who was giving me some quotes, doing some concrete work at the house, and he completely broke his back all up, really bad. He fell 30 feet. And he's still walking today. He's still doing concrete, but he thought he was done. And this was just because he wanted to hunt, and it was just one little slip, and it was almost all over for him. And I couldn't believe the horrific things that I was hearing, that he had to go through. And you just, be careful, and just be extra careful out there.
Yeah.
All right, let me get the chat open. I don't know why I don't have the chat open already.
Oh, we got some people in this morning. We got Trace, Superintendent Chalmers, Jay-Z, Derek Lewis. Let's see, Christopher Cunningham. You should make a video of this season with the song if you can get the okay from the Lions. That's a pretty good idea. And then Mark Baylor, Richard Fitzwell, Mateo Navarro. Who else we got in here today? Thought I saw Riley and some other people. We
could do a hype video for sure.
John Desage, is that how you say that?
Yeah, I call him John.
Yeah, John Desage. And then Pat Beach, Bruce MacArthur. And I think that's just about everybody. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody to this morning.
Everyone else is in the woods. JC says, "Can I borrow your cassette so I can dub over the crappy tape?" Man, I don't miss those days.
Dude, a friend of mine is in a band, right? And his name is Jason, and really cool dude. And he's like, Eric, I left something under the rug in front of your store. So I'm like, okay. And he took a picture of the rug in front of my store. And I'm like, what the heck did he leave me? And I went and I look under my rug and there's a CD. And I'm like, how the hell am I going to play this? I don't have a vehicle that has a CD player. I don't have a CD player. I'm like, maybe my Xbox will read it. I don't know. So I haven't been able to listen to his CD yet because I have nothing that will play it.
That's crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah, because everything's download now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll have to find it on streaming somewhere.
Well, let's get started with a topic this morning. I guess enough small talk. So we got to jam it in today, right?
Yeah.
Man, great show last night with Justin Treese. Wealth of knowledge. Talking Football podcast. Got to meet the rest of the gentlemen last night after the show. Really hopeful we're going to be able to get a deal done and get some extremely good content coming up here on the other channel. These guys are super intelligent. Talking about the props and stuff. They told me last night that one of the guys is now like 17-2 or 17-3 on parlays.
Oh wow.
On the seat. I mean, that's incredible. We're talking 2, 3, like 4-leg parlays.
Who's doing that?
I don't remember which one it was, but I think 2 of them were. Okay. Really, really crushing it. So you want to talk about guys that really know their stuff. They know their stuff when it comes to that side, the whole betting side. But the channel is going to be like a mix of all sorts of different NFL action, college action, you name it. It's just going to be a source of football. And I think it's going to be really fun. Not a whole lot of that on YouTube right now. I mean, there's a few guys that do it, but this would be, 4, 5, 6 guys all collaborating, working together and getting all sorts of information out there. So I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Brian Branch. I wanted to talk about a segment this morning, after the Sunday night game, but I'm gonna have to save it for later. But just listening to Brian Branch for the first time, I didn't listen to it the other night. Man, I love everything about Brian Branch. And the reason why I'm starting here is because there's another topic of Brian Branch that is popping up right now. And that is Defensive Player of the Year talk. Eric, please explain to me how shafted Brian Branch or Kirby Joseph, both of them are right now, and I guess in your opinion, or what are you seeing that's happening in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, and where do they belong? I know it's a question you were going to kind of ask me, but kick us off here with this topic.
Sure. So my question today was, does Brian Branch or Kirby Joseph deserve to be in the Defensive Player of the Year award talk this season? Currently, Brian Branch is at plus 1,500, has the 26th best odds to win Defensive Player of the Year.
It's crazy to me.
And Kirby Joseph is behind him at plus 1,600 odds. So he's down at like 30. And it blows my mind. I thought that Brian Branch would be right up there with Xavier McKinney and everyone else. Guess where Xavier McKinney ranks?
Enlighten me.
Number 9.
What?
Yes, number 9, if you can believe that.
All right, so let me pick this apart for a second. Unless you had more to add. Do you have more to add?
Well, I can tell you who the players are that are leading the way right now.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. So we have TJ Watt, Chris Jones, Trey Hendrickson, Dexter Lawrence, Nick Bosa, Will Anderson Jr., Patrick Surtain II, Fred Warner, Xavier McKinney, and Dante Fowler. That's your top 10 Defensive Player of the Year leaders right now.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, there was only one safety and one corner in the top 10.
Yep.
Okay. One safety. I mean, typically when you see defensive, do you have any stats on who's been winning the Defensive Player of the Year over the last few years?
No, I don't. But typically, I think it's edge rushers get it most of the time before anybody. Let me see who were the.
So if I were to take a whoops, I got to put in NFL, otherwise it defaults to NBA for some reason.
Yeah, mine too.
So here are the most recent NFL Defensive Player of the Year award winners. TJ Watt won it in 2021. He was also a finalist in 2019 and 23. Terrell Suggs won the award in 2011. Most notable Defensive Player of the Year awards included Ray Lewis. I mean, there's no doubt there, right? Troy Polamalu. Troy was fun to watch, right? Lawrence Taylor, James Harrison, Reggie White, JJ Watt. Of course, this is another AP thing, right? But if we were to look at it, Myles Garrett won it last year, Nick Bosa the year before, TJ Watt before that, Aaron Donald. So you have to go back to 2019 when Stephon Gilmore won it.
Yep.
And then Aaron Donald won it 2 years in a row before that. Then Khalil Mack. Then JJ Watt won it 3 out of the next 4 years. And then Terrell Suggs and Troy Polamalu, then Charles Woodson. So not very often are we seeing a corner or a safety.
Yeah.
It's primarily edge rusher, linebacker, defensive lineman, defensive tackle, right?
2010 was the last time a safety has won the award. That's atrocious.
Well, I mean, I think I understand it. I mean, again, I think that this is the whole narrative that I've been fighting against this entire season when everyone's calling for an edge rusher and top tier edge rushers. It's because this is what you see. You see these guys winning Defensive Player of the Year. And I feel like it's highly skewed. I mean, so if everyone really just loves to watch sacks, of course, as an AP press individual and you get a right to vote, if you love the edge position, you're going to vote for an edge position. If you love cornerback play, you're probably going to vote cornerback play. If you love safety play, you're going to vote. You see where it goes. So I think that this whole narrative has been driven towards edge rushers and outside linebackers getting to the quarterback, and as opposed to maybe putting the best player overall that really helps their team win. And for me, I think that the award should be about your stats, number one, and how well you're playing. But 2, how are you helping your team? You could be, I mean, just look at the Lions. Okay, they're 8-1. And how effective has Brian Branch been or Kirby Joseph been at helping this team win? You know, what do they do? Where do they stand out? And then if you look across the league, how would they compare to these other guys that are in the top 10 at how they've affected their team and their team winning? Now, if I were to take the 1,000-foot view here or the 30,000-foot view, and I look at Patrick Surtain, I'm like, where does he belong? Even in the top 10 or even in the top 25, I don't see it. His grades according to PFF. Now I understand PFF, like not a lot of people love PFF, and I get it, right? But at least it gives you an idea of what this player is doing. His overall ranking is a 78-1. His pass rush is a 60. His coverage is a 78. His run defense is a 77. He has 3 interceptions. He's allowing a passer rating of 68.8. And the team is what? What are they? Like 4-5 or the Broncos? I don't remember their standings.
Let me look. You can look it up real quick.
But the point that I'm trying to make here is what is he really doing that is standing out and above Kirby or Brian Branch? When you look at Brian Branch, the dude's elite all the way across the board. He has all of his scores are in the blue. He's a 90.7 overall. 88 in coverage, 89 in pass rush, 89 in run defense. He's allowing a passer rating of 34.5. Now, those things you can't argue against. I mean, those are straight stats. It's not an eye test. Those are straight stats.
Yep.
He's got 4 interceptions, and he's helping this team win. I mean, he is absolute lockdown in the run game and in the pass game. He's a big reason why this team wins. He's a big reason why we won the other night versus the Texans. To me, that stands far and away above anything else that any other corner or safety is doing. Then you look at Xavier McKinney. Okay, he has 2 more interceptions than Brian. He has some elite grades, but his run defense and pass rush are not even close to Brian. His passer rating against is pretty good at 50.3. But he's allowing 16.1 yards a catch to Brian's 8.8. So over twice the amount of yards he's given up. Now, is Xavier McKinney a big reason why the Packers are winning? I would say they're a big reason. He was a big reason why they lost to the Lions the other day. Or other teams the other day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would say he's a big reason why. He didn't do anything to stand up and help that team win.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't think it makes any sense. What are your thoughts, really?
Yeah, the Broncos are 5-5, so they're not. I mean, they're not world beaters, and they're not the worst team in the world. They almost took on the Chiefs. They almost beat them. They should have beat them. And I don't know how you can't block on the whole left side of your line when you're kicking a game-winning field goal. I don't understand that. But yeah, it just seems that when it comes to these kind of awards, that the Lions are always snubbed, even if the Lions have a player with the best stats of anyone in the entire thing. They're always snubbed and not even talked in the conversation. Now I have to switch to what if mode. What if Hutch never gets hurt? I bet you he would have been finally the Lion that would have cracked this, because he's such a popular and polarizing player across the league, and people root for him and want him to win, being a number 2 overall pick, that I really truly believe, had Hutch stayed healthy and not broken his leg, that he would be leading for Defensive Player of the Year. I
think that he would have been up there. I mean, I think that there's definitely an argument for that. I really do. I think Hutch, the problem, and so you started to talk about it, right? The problem is Detroit. And it's the purview that everybody has about Detroit. It's I don't understand this bad taste that is in everybody's mouth about Detroit. They just can't seem to do what's right. The AP press is a joke to me. I really feel that a lot of these people that have the ability to vote, it's a joke. They're not doing this from a truth, transparent, honest perspective. They're doing it from a personal vendetta perspective. It's, I don't like Detroit. Detroit beat my team. I'm not voting for anybody in Detroit. And you heard it, was it last year? I can't remember who it was, but they said something like, why would I not vote for Lamar Jackson? He's my quarterback of my team. That's exactly why you should have your card stripped, because that's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it was probably Adam Rank.
Probably. I don't know. There was somebody. I just can't remember the name right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with Detroit, another thing is people want to win or want to root for us when we're winning, because we're little brother. We're the team that always lost all the time, so it's kind of neat to see us win. But on the other hand, those same people are waiting for us to fail. So what do I mean by that?
Yeah, 1,000%.
So when we do fail, they can go, ha ha ha, I knew it. I told you they sucked. Like exactly what happened when we were in the third or fourth quarter, halftime, whatever, of the Houston Texans game, and Goff had thrown 3, 4, 5 interceptions, and all you saw across social media was, ha ha ha, I told you Goff sucked. Ha 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 ha. Well, they all had to take those posts down, because by the end of the fourth quarter, the Detroit Lions had made a comeback because of Jared Goff and because of Jake Bates. And now they lead the NFC. So I think people are too quick to pull the trigger on the old, who's that character from The Simpsons? The ha ha, the kid that points and does that.
I don't know. I have no idea.
People are just too quick to do the ha ha ha, na boo boo, I told you so. Nobody's got patience in the NFL anymore.
Superintendent Chalmers knew. I mean, I expected him to come alive with that answer. He says Nelson Muntz.
There it is. Yeah, Nelson. Yeah.
So yeah, I get it, man. It's this cloud that's just over Detroit that it will never go away. And even when we win the Super Bowl this year, it's not going to go away. And we're never going to get the respect that we deserve. The city is never going to get the respect that it deserves. Now, there are some people in the media that do give the Lions respect. And one of the gentlemen that we're going to talk about this morning, Herm Edwards, who I absolutely respect, and he's always been a straight shooter, had some good things to say about the Detroit Lions. and overall about the view of the Detroit Lions right now compared to another team that is starting to shake up the industry a little bit. So, look, whatever's going on with the AP, I feel like change is good, right? Anytime you can have good, positive change, usually good things come out of it, and I think that there should be a change with the way things are voted on. Now, I know it's kind of hard to upset the apple cart with the way something's been done for such a long time, but I think that some of this needs to go back into the hands of the fans, at least a little bit. I think it needs to be a weighted vote. I said the same thing about Pro Bowl. I think that there needs to be a weighted vote here. I think that you should have your peers, the other NFL players should cast a vote for, for MVPs, for, player of the years, respectively, offensively, defensively, special teams, for Pro Bowls. I think all of that should be voted against your peers. And I think that should be the highest weight. It should be more than 50%, because those are the guys that are going to give you, in my opinion, the benefit of the doubt. Like, yeah, look, Lamar, I love you, but this other dude's kind of playing better. And you don't have to share your vote. It can all be hidden, behind closed doors. But at least you get, some sort of a real, raw, tangible outcome that maybe makes more sense than just, 50 guys or whatever that are voting through the AP. I don't remember the number of guys voting, but I think far often, more than not, you're getting this skewed vote that they're just voting for their people. They're not voting for what really makes sense. And then you have to put some of it in the fans. Now, the bigger markets, so the problem with that is, of course, New York, right? And some of these other bigger markets, Chicago, they're going to have a bigger draw. They're going to have more voting. So I think that, there should be a smaller percentage that is weighted by fan vote. And then, the AP can weigh in, and then, whomever else. I think that it needs to be mixed up, man. They need to change the way that things are voted on. It'll never happen, but one can dream, right? One can dream, I guess.
Exactly.
Is what it is. It's wasted words. Yep. It's falling on deaf ears at this point.
But I always loved Herm Edwards. I always thought he was very impartial as a broadcaster. And when he would do Lions games or talk about Lions players, I always thought he was very fair in his evaluation of Lions.
Always. He's for a minute there, I thought that he was going to be our head coach before Dan Campbell. And I feel like he might have been the only other guy, the only other coach that probably could have got us to a similar result as Dan Campbell. But honestly, I don't think there's any replacement for what Dan Campbell. Dan fits this team, this city, these people, the state, the everything. He fits it perfectly. And not only that, but so does Aaron Glenn. And last night I saw something from Jared Goff's Bulge on Twitter, and I tried to copy it because I wanted to share it. And it's going to come out later today when I have a minute to get on the old Photoshop machine and change a couple of things. But there's going to be a form that's going around for all of you Aaron Glenn haters that you need to sign, or you need to turn in your Lions loyalty card. Let's just put it that way. And your Lions loyalty card will be coming out here pretty soon. We're making a Lions loyalty card so that you have something to display your fandom to all of the other fans. It's kind of like a coin, but instead it's going to be like a credit card that's going to have your fandom on it. So we're putting that together. I'm sure someone's going to hear this now and try to bite, but it is what it is. At least we were first. So anyway, let's bring in Herm Edwards. Let's talk. I want to listen to Herm for a minute. Bring old Hermie in. All right, so the best teams don't flinch. There's a reason why I put this up on the thumbnail today, and it's all because of Herm Edwards and what he had to say. Now, this was after the Lions, beat the Texans, so it's a little aged, media, but I thought it was great what he was talking about and where the conversation went. And so leading into one of our next topics, which will be who's the best in the NFC after the Eagles, are really starting to shake things up a little bit. Let's hear what Herm had to say. Here we go.
Okay, Herm, so Detroit gets the win. Yes. But this is a Texans loss more than anything. They had 23 points at the half. They didn't score in the second half. They gave this game to the Lions.
Yeah, and the key now for the Texans is, will they recover from this? This is a devastating loss for them.
At home, too.
I mean, they had these guys on the ropes, but got shut out the second half. Presented the ball five opportunities on turnovers. Got nothing out of it. And so this is where now, if you're the head ball coach, you got to get your team back. Because this is one of those losses, it doesn't go away. You don't even want to watch the film on this, to be quite honest. You want to move on to next week. Because this is a bad loss.
What does it say about the Lions, though?
Oh,
I mean, they talked about their resilience.
Resilient,
they talked
and
about
they
the fact
are.
that they came back after Goff threw the 5 picks.
They never blinked. They never flinched. They just kept playing. And in the second half, it was an entirely different ball game. They controlled the whole game. When they couldn't score, the Lions just kept playing. They just kept playing. They just fought through it. This is who they are, though. They're a tough, mentally tough football team, and they believe that no game is out of reach, and they just kept plucking away, and now they leave out of here with them.
And so that's the thing. They are a one-loss team. It's the best start through 9 games for the Lions since the mid-1950s, yet there's this other team in the NFL that is undefeated. When you're looking at the Lions and you're looking at the Chiefs and you have to pick one as a Super Bowl winning team, like which one are you going with?
It's early, but
It's early.
we're not going to hold you to it.
No, but like
Here
at this
again,
moment-
I would say, and I've said this, right now, what do your eyes tell you when you watch the NFL?
I mean, up
This
until
is the
today,
best team.
up until today, I
You think the
probably
Lions
would
are
have
the best team?
easily
The Lions are the
said
best
the
team.
Lions. Yeah.
They're the most consistent team.
Okay.
They've just proved that tonight. They went on the road and turned the ball over 5 times to a team, Houston, that is a good football team.
Yeah, division leader.
And their defense basically said, okay, you can turn it over. We're not going to allow them to score. We'll wait till we get our sea legs back. They got their sea legs back and won a game that they had no business winning.
Yeah. The thing that stands out to me most about the Lions is that they lost Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Literally one of their top 3 players on the team probably. And it did not just affect them seemingly, but they played just as well without him as they did beforehand.
Yeah, and their defense is playing outstanding right
Without one of the best defensive players in the league.
now. Correct. Aaron Glenn has done a fabulous job. He's going to become a head coach. Aaron Glenn played for me when I was with the Jets as a head coach. He's great corner.
It was like a low-key
And now, he's the way this defense is playing, he's going to get interviewed at the end of the year, and he's going to be a head coach. There's no doubt.
So the Detroit Lions, they win 26-23 in a game that was easily won by them as it was lost by the Houston Texans. Let's be honest, neither quarterback played great.
No. And C.J. Stroud's going to be like, there were some plays he should have made in that second half.
And you just made a great comment. That's why you're so.
All right. So I think that we get the picture here, right? Herm Edwards is all in on the Detroit Lions. And even though that there is an undefeated team that still resides in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs, and with the resurgence now of the Eagles, he still believes that the Lions are the best team in the NFL for a few reasons. One, we didn't flinch in this Texans game. We never thought that we were out in this Texans game. We continued to play. And never for once did they give up. And that resiliency that Dan Campbell talks about, that Herm Edwards just echoed, clearly reigned above all else in this game. They stayed resilient. They stayed in their pocket. They stayed ready to go. And they got the job done. I thought that what Herm Edwards, was just saying about the Lions is kind of bringing us to a pinnacle of the season of where we are. Like, we really belong. And you're starting to realize more and more each week that this just isn't a team that is getting lucky. This just isn't a team that, has a few good players and without those few good players, we're just going to fall off to, to wasteland. Again, they just mentioned without Aiden Hutchinson, we're actually playing better. It's not an indictment on Aiden. It's just a fact right now. We're playing better as a team. So, Eric, what did you take away from Herm's statements here?
Okay, so for the first time ever, I could actually hear the whole thing in my earbuds. It was really nice. I didn't have to switch out, so that was awesome. And anyway, there was one thing I did not like what they said in there. And I don't know if it was Herm or the other guy that said it, that the Lions won this game and that they did not deserve to win this game. I think that's false. I think the Lions were the better team. They stumbled out the gate and they got their feet under them and they came back to win because they were the better team. So the better team deserves to win, and they deserve to win that game. I don't think it was a fluke. I don't think it was luck. I don't think it was a ball going our, bouncing around and just falling our way. We were the better team and we proved it. That's what I think about that.
Yeah, so I would agree largely that the Detroit Lions are deeper than what you thought, right? I think that this team is built, like Dan Campbell says all the time, this team is built for it. They're built different, as Jared Goff whispered in Dan Campbell's ear after the game. They're just different, and they're different from so many different respects. It's the way that they prepare. It's the way that they go about their business. It's the way that they don't give up. It's the way that they care about each other. I mean, it's incredible to watch a team play, right? Not individuals play. And I think that you get a lot of that with some teams where you have more eyes than you do TEAM. And this is a team. This is a team that cares about each other. Brian Branch, like I said, I really wanted to highlight what he said this morning. He also mentioned that in his post-game interview with, the four gentlemen, in the Sunday night football crew, that it was all about the defensive front in that game. They didn't make any changes. At least that's what he said, right? Whether it's true or not. Brian Branch said they didn't make any changes at halftime. They just went out and continued to play their game and relied on the front seven to get it done.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. The front seven shut them down and allowed the back end to play. I mean, holding Joe Mixon to under 46 yards or whatever it was on
Incredible.
25 carries. It's insane what the Lions were able to do.
Yeah. 1 yard to carry.
So look, the feeling is it's real now across the league. You're starting to gather, more support. And let's roll this right into the next question or the next topic, right? Sure. Are the Eagles the best team in the NFC right now?
That's a big possibility. With the Eagles now at 8-2, are you worried about the Eagles taking the number 1 seed from the Lions eventually? The games left for the Eagles. They have the Rams, which they'll probably win, in my opinion. The Ravens, that could be a loss. The Panthers, there's a win for them. The Steelers, that's iffy. That's going to be a coin flip right there. Another game with the Commanders at the Commanders this time. And I'm going to tell you what, I watched that first half of that game last night, and the Commanders were pretty darn close with the Eagles last night. The Eagles missed 2 field goals in the first, and it was 7-3 at halftime, and the Commanders were in the lead. The Commanders came out at halftime and somehow lost the game. All right. And then they have the Cowboys and the Giants to end the season. So those last 2 games, those should be easy chalk 'em up wins for the Philadelphia Eagles. But what did the Eagles do last year? They started out with this amazing 10-1 run. They were the number 1 seed in the NFL, and they fell apart. They lost every game the rest of the season, and then they lost the first game of the playoffs at home to the Buccaneers. So I don't know if they're going to keep doing this amazing run during the regular season and then implode at the end of the year, or if they're actually going to keep it going this year. This year they have Saquon Barkley. That's something they didn't have in years past, a dependable running back who can catch out of the backfield and make people miss. And he was a big reason that they won yesterday. I firmly believe that the Eagles will win the NFC East this year. They have a 1.5 game lead on everyone else in the division right now. And the Cowboys are 3-6. The Giants are 2-8. The closest team is the Commanders at 7-4, and the Eagles are 8-2. So right now, I think the Eagles are going to run away with that division, and they are going to be our closest competition for that number 1 seed in the NFL.
So you mean in the NFC? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm at. Eagles have a 6-game win streak right now. They're on a roll.
Yep.
Okay. Let me pull something up here. So as of 3 days ago, the NFL strength of schedule slotted the Eagles as the 8th, somewhere 7th, 8th hardest strength of schedule. And here, let me just break it down. The Falcons, the Chargers, the Bengals, the Jets, the Bears have the easiest schedules of the year. The hardest schedules are the Patriots, the Steelers, the Vikings, the Browns, and the Titans. The Lions are kind of right in the middle at 18. They have a plus minus line of 10.5 wins on the season, which we're clearly going to get to. We're going to go well beyond it. And the Eagles are slated as the 8th with a 10.5 line of, plus or minus 10.5 games on the season. So they're kind of dead even right now as far as what's expected for them to win for the balance of the season. But I nowhere do I believe that the Commanders are out, at all. I think the Commanders are definitely going to be in the playoffs. I think that they're going to be jostling with the Eagles. This next game that they play, I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders pull that one out. They knot it up, between them, and then it just goes to who can hang the longest, in the balance of the, for the balance of the season. I say all that to say this: Commanders' strength of schedule for the rest of this, well, at least for the entire season, they're 11th, so they're a hardened team, right? They've gone up against some really good opponents this year.
Yep.
And I don't have their schedule in front of me, so I don't know exactly who they have left. But, NFL franchises use data to really create competitive advantages, if you will. And in order to realize, like an edge for the rest of the season, how they're going to approach the rest of the season, they really need to employ the right data at the right time and the right moment. And this data can really influence, I think, the framework of your season. So looking at all of these components that go into the balance of a season, how do you get to where you want to get to? How do you get to the 1 seed? How do you at least win your division? I don't think it's going to be easy for the Eagles based on the data.
No.
So with 10 weeks, right? The trade deadline's in the books. We're taking kind of a look at the midseason snapshot, if you will, for where teams are, headed into what is now the playoff run, the postseason run. It begins right now. We're headed into December football, and that's when you have to turn it on. You wouldn't be surprised if I told you the odds presented for the Detroit Lions by DraftKings that the Lions are current number 1 contender in the league. 13.7 wins is what the Lions are expected to get.
That would be the most in franchise history.
So that puts them right back to 14-3, where I thought that they would be. It puts them right back at 14-3 with a 1 seed, where I thought that they would be. That's where I think that they have to be. The Lions have to get to 14-3. Could they do it at 13-4? Probably. Now the Eagles are at 12.6 wins, so they're a full win behind us. The ceiling for the Lions, get this, 15.7 wins. That puts them at 15-2. Didn't you say 15-2?
I sure did.
I would be happy with either.
I'm sticking with it because I think the Lions win every game until that last game. And I think we're resting starters. I think Hendon Hooker will play that entire game. And that's why we're going to lose, because the Vikings are going to need that game to get into the playoffs. And they're going to need to win that game because the Commanders and the Packers are going to give them a run for their money for that last wild card spot. So the Commanders, you were asking about their schedule. They play 2 winning teams for the entire rest of the season. They play the Cowboys, the Titans, the Saints.
The Commanders, right?
Yep.
And so they have an easier second half schedule than they did the beginning.
And the only 2 winning teams they play are the Eagles at home and the Falcons at home.
And they need to win those games.
Yes. So if you also look at the Eagles, they have two very, very, very hard games, the Ravens and the Steelers. They could easily drop those two games, and that would put those two teams neck and neck going into that December 22nd game, Eagles at Commanders. That is going to be very interesting to watch from afar, this whole NFC East with those two teams. And I believe both those teams are going to make the playoffs. I believe one of them is going to be a wild card. I don't care which one it is. And I think one of them is going to knock out one of the teams from the NFC North from the playoffs.
So real quick, I know we want to get ads off, everybody. If we could just get 60 likes, we can get these ads off every day. That helps the channel, get more noticed. It gets out to more Lions fans, just like you watching this morning or listening this morning, or maybe you're not a Lions fan and you're listening. Do us a favor, smash the like button real quick, because we are going to end the show here in probably about a half hour ish. I don't know why my clock says that, but I got to go get new tires this morning, so I do got to get off fairly early so I can make my appointment. So right now you got the Lions, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Vikings, the Packers, the Commanders. Those are your top 7 teams in the NFC. And like you just said, the Commanders really have a fairly easy schedule outside of the Eagles and the Falcons, which are the only 2 winning ball clubs that they're going to face for the rest of the season. And the Commanders right now are what, 7-2, 7-4? They're 7-4. So they have 6 games left.
Yep.
And they can easily go 4-2 in those games, which would put them at 11-6.
Yep.
Easily go 4-2. If they pick up a win over the Falcons or the Eagles, specifically the Eagles, puts them at what, 12-5.
Yeah.
That could put them as the 1 seed in the NFC East if the Eagles drop a couple of games.
Yeah.
But the question is really this: are the Eagles the best team in the NFC? And I'm going to say no. One, I agree with Herm. They're not. There's no way that I'm going to put Saquon Barkley over top of 2 running backs.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got 1, we've got 2. Who else on the Eagles team is really better than what we have? Okay, so Jalen Hurts, he's mobile. He has a good arm, but we've seen this song and dance before. You're going to play well, during the regular season, and then they have this collapse. Now, last year, I think that there was some coaching issues, right? There was some issues going on between, Jalen Hurts and the coaching staff or whatever. At least those are alleged rumors, right? Yeah. And maybe we're not seeing that this year. The floor for the Lions, those 12.5 wins. The floor for the Eagles, get this, 8.7. So DraftKings does not believe in the Eagles being able to finish. To make the playoffs right now, the Lions are minus 20,000. The Eagles, after winning last night, minus 2,000.
Wow.
So the Lions are 10 times more likely to make the playoffs, and win their respective division over the Eagles in the conference.
Yeah.
So to win the division right now, the Lions, this is what I didn't like. To win the division, the Lions are minus 425 to the Eagles minus 210. To win their conference, the Lions are at plus 190 to the Eagles plus 425. So again, it shows that the Lions are more likely to win their conference over the Eagles. To win the Super Bowl, the Lions are plus 450 over the Eagles plus 900.
Yeah. So double.
Yeah. So I guess if you look at the data and what DraftKings is putting out and what everyone's talking about here is it's a race now to the end of the season. You've got to be playing your best football. And what we just witnessed from the Detroit Lions over the Texans should shock the entire NFL world. You completely throttled the Lions in the first half of a game away against a really good, really fast, really vicious defense by the Texans. A potent offense that had plenty of weapons to do damage. And the Lions just flipped the switch the other way and said, nope, not going to happen. You're not doing it to, it's just not, you're not doing it to us. Not happening. And they're doing it with second string guys. They're doing it with losing multiple, starters from this season. 5 of them, I think by now, at least 5 or 6 that the Lions have lost, and they're playing at this level. You can't shake the Lions right now. You absolutely cannot shake the Lions right now.
Yep.
And now here we're walking into a schedule. Let's take a look at the Lions schedule real quick.
Yeah. One thing I was looking at the Lions schedule, we just did 4 out of 5 on the road. And now we're doing 4 out of 5 at home.
So there's 4 wins. We're not going to lose at home. I'm sorry. Jags is a win. Colts should be a win. That's our only road game over the next several weeks.
Yep.
The Bears, man, I'm seeing nothing in the news, but the Bears are A, ruining Caleb Williams. B, there's locker room issues already. C, veterans want, Badgett to play. It's a mess. That Williams didn't live up to his hype. I said it all from the beginning of the season. The dude should have never opened his mouth. He should have just kept his head down and got to work, because now those 10 Super Bowls you said you were going to win doesn't even look like you're going to make the playoffs once, buddy.
Yeah.
Packers is going to be the toughest game we play until we get to the Bills. And again, the Packers are coming home. We're not going to lose that game.
No.
Not again. Not happening. The key is staying healthy. So if we don't stay healthy, anything can happen. But we just added a Ferrari on the outside. We just added dariussmith. And I'm not expecting, for him to come in and just go crazy right away. But the potential for that to happen, I think, is greater than it is not. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Z Smith, he's going to have every opportunity to do what Hutch was doing before Hutch left.
Yeah. I would say when I look at the schedule, Jaguars, Colts, Bears, Packers, Bills, Bears, 49ers, Vikings, if you could find 2 losses in there, I would be surprised. And I think the toughest games are going to be the Bills and the 49ers.
Yep.
You could say that the Packers are probably going to be the next toughest game after that. The Vikings in week 18, look, I'm hoping that it's going to be a meaningless game like I thought it would be in the beginning of the season. I would hope that Dan Campbell would take an opportunity to rest some players. If we get to a point where we've locked up the 1 seed and we've locked up the North first and then the 1 seed, then yeah, it only makes sense to get healthy. But at the same time, you don't want to lose momentum and rhythm with your players. And it's a very fine line to walk. It only makes sense to rest, though.
Yeah. Do you want them being off for 2 weeks because you're going to have a bye week? And I think that is going to be quite the topic of discussion for us for the next month or two. Should the Lions rest starters in week 18? And
so I don't know how many more padded practices they have, but I would hope that Dan Campbell would consider, and again, I don't know the rules around this. I can't remember everything, but if we have padded practices left, to save some for those weeks, because that way, if you do rest players, at least you have a padded practice to fall back on to get the guys some action, right? To get them, hitting a little bit. But at least it's not a game, where they're going to go out there and just get, hopefully not get injured, because that's the whole thing. You don't want to see these guys getting injured at the tail end of the season, because you have very limited time to get back. Now we're supposed to get a few guys back. You still got Mosley on the way back, Melifonwu on the way back, Broderick Martin, full participant. So he should be back this week, or definitely next week.
Martin's only got a few days left on his.
Yeah, this is the last week for him.
Yeah.
So, look, I just don't see the Lions really losing. I think 14-3 is the floor for me. That's where I called the Lions to be this year. I'm hoping that it remains true. I think 14-3 gets us the 1 seed. It definitely wins the NFC North, and it means that we wouldn't have to play Week 18 as tough as I think that we would, expect to have to play. And the Vikings may not either. It depends on what's going on there. But when you look at the total NFL playoff picture, though, again, the 49ers may not even make it.
Yep.
I thought that the 49ers wouldn't make the playoffs this year, and that's a real shot. I also said the Chiefs would make the playoffs. They kind of shut me up pretty quick.
Yeah.
The Bears, I didn't expect them to make it. I do think that the next best teams in the NFC are, last night I said the Bucs, but then I also forgot about the injury status to Godwin. I think the Bucs are out. I think the Rams got a shot, and that's really about it. I think the Rams have a shot. The Seahawks, you never know. But I think the Rams and the 49ers are the only two teams right now that even have a shot to make it into the bottom end. And who is that going to be? Because right now you've got 3 NFC North teams representing the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions. So the Commanders, I think that they're gonna continue to rise. I wouldn't even put the Commanders out of the conversation here to win that division. So it'd be the Commanders and the Eagles and the Lions all in. The Cardinals, if you guys remember, I said that they were going to be the 2024 version of the 23 Texans, which is a resurgent year making the playoffs. I think that they're going to win that division. I think that they're going to be fine. So right now, Lions, Cards are locks. I think the Falcons are a lock. I think the Eagles and the Commanders are going to be vying for that one. And then it's really the Vikings, the Packers, the 49ers, and the Rams fighting for the bottom 2.
Here's an off question for you. What do you think about Kirk Cousins for comeback player of the year?
I think he deserves a shot.
Yeah.
I think he does. I think Kirk's always been a baller, man.
Glad I made that bet before the season.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Yeah.
So anyway, I won't get off into the AFC this morning. I want to get into the injury report right now. Yesterday we had a pop-up, not a good one, and that was Carlton Davis. Popped up on the injury report with a new injury, and so did Ifeatu Melifonwu. According to the report, it appears, let me pull it up. It appears Carlton Davis injured his hand. Was it? I think it was his hand.
Yeah, it just says hand. And
it is listed as a new injury. So again, we don't know if this happened in the previous game and he played through it, got through the first few days of practice this week, and then just popped up on the report. I don't think that there's any conversation of him not playing this weekend. But it is a little bit concerning that he popped up with a new injury, kind of like what Taylor Decker did, last week. And then Melifonwu, he popped up with a new injury as well. So while he's coming back from an injury, the ankle injury, he popped up with a finger. Again, it's a finger. I can't imagine that he's not going to be able to get back. He still has 12 days left or 11 days left on his window. So those are the only two. Everybody else is at full participant practice right now. Taylor Decker, Malcolm Rodriguez, both upgraded to full participants. Broderick Martin has 4 days left. So this is his last week. We'll know by Monday. Well, today's Friday. So we'll know by Tuesday, I think, the final decision on Broderick Martin. I do expect for him to make it back to the roster. The question is, who's going to come off the roster? That's the biggest question. Is he going to be able to help this team moving forward? Is there an opportunity that he doesn't? I don't think the Lions risk putting him on a practice squad, or they'd have to shut him down for the rest of the season on IR. Those are your only two choices. And I can't imagine them bumping him down to a practice squad where he probably will get poached, because people are looking at this from the standpoint that, man, he's being coached up well. Here we go. Manuel Mosley has 11 days left, so still a little bit of time for him to come back from his pectoral issue. Practice for the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is out. Mac Jones is in. Tank Bigsby has an ankle. Potential for him not to play this weekend is a little bit greater than we anticipated. We'll find out today at 4 p.m. What's going to happen there. Other than that, they're fairly healthy. They have a big list, but all of those players, Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis, Brandon Scherf, Ezra Cleveland, Ernest Johnson, they're all expected to play. The two to watch out for, obviously, are Brandon Scherf and Ezra Cleveland. Had a good conversation about that last night. If Ezra Cleveland is out, you could see Dariussmith have a pretty big game.
Mm-hmm.
And I predicted last night he would get 2 sacks. Now, I said I didn't expect for him to go crazy, but if Cleveland is out, Smith gets 2 sacks. If Cleveland is in, I think that Dariussmith just plays a hell of a game, maybe gets 1 sack. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the injury report? What are your thoughts on Dariussmith heading into his first week?
I really truly believe Dariussmith is going to come in and he's going to be a baller. I think it's going to be a good game. He wants to show off for the Detroit crowd. The crowd is going to be amazing. That place is going to be sold out, 65,000 people. It's going to be an amazing vibe in that place. I can't wait to see number 99 come in and do some damage. That's going to be fun. It really sucks about Carlton Davis, but if we're out Carlton Davis, and even if we're out, who's the other injured player? Ife Melifonwu. I'm fine. I think we'll be just fine. Even if Rakestraw has to play a bunch. Oh, Trace just gave us a super chat. We're stuck at 46 likes, y'all. Let's get to 60 before the show is over. Heck yeah, let's get those likes up, everybody. All you gotta do is
just because Trace just donated $5 to the Rock Down Cancer Foundation, I'm going to turn off ads.
Hey, there we go.
So just because she did that, otherwise, yeah, we usually like to see our likes get up to 60, at least in the first 30 minutes. It really helps the channel, and then we turn ads off so you guys have a nice seamless opportunity to listen or watch or whatever you're doing this morning. That's what we do here. We don't want you guys to have to experience ads. Ads can come after for the people that don't make the live event. And speaking of live events, tonight I am going to be online with the Netflix fights. It's not something we normally do on this kind of a channel, but this is an epic event, you know, for Mike Tyson to be coming back. I did watch the weigh-ins yesterday, got a little chippy. I hope it's just not all show, you know, pomp and circumstance. I hope that it turns into an actual real fight tonight. And I hope that Mike Tyson does well. I hope that he can finish Fake Paul and end his boxing career where it started. Because it's just been an absolute joke to the sport. But if you want to join me tonight, I'll be on later on this evening, watching the fights and talking about it. So
what time are the fights on?
So I'll be on right around 7:30, 7:45. I think the first fight's on at 8.
Oh, okay. How many fights are there? Do you know? I
think there's at least 4. I'm not sure. I would expect that the main event will probably be sometime, you know, after 10:30, but 11 o'clock. Yeah.
10:30, 11. I hate that they do that so damn late. I go to bed at like 8:30 every day now. I'm turning into an old guy.
Yeah. Well, that happens to the best of us, right?
So I don't know what the hell Broski Bear is talking about. Am I sick of Dr. Squatch? And then he says, Eric, the men's soap shampoo brand. I don't know. I don't use any of that crap.
I don't know what that is either. What is it?
Au Naturel, man. I just put conditioner in it. I don't do none of that beard stuff. Except for on Sundays, I make it blue hairspray.
So the other guy that I wanted to talk about this morning was I wanted to touch on Aaron Glenn for a moment. And then I also wanted to touch on Richard Sherman and what he had said in this conversation he had with Jahmyr Gibbs. And then there's 2 other injuries here. So 2 other injuries that are notable around the league. Strong safety Jaquan Brisker will be out for Turkey Day against the Lions. He's been placed on IR. And then Harrison Butker, the Chiefs kicker, is out at least 4 weeks. And this headline, when I read it, I'm like, what are they talking about? It said, Chiefs dealt a stunning Harrison Butker news, undefeated season in danger because they lost their kicker.
Did you see the video of him? Every time he kicked this year, his left knee buckled and he had to go down on his left knee after he kicked. And he's missed a few kicks this year. He's my fantasy football kicker, and I had to scramble and find somebody last night. I picked up the kicker for the Washington Commanders.
What happened to his knee?
He has an MCL tear, so he has to have surgery. He is out for the season.
I thought he was only out for 4 weeks.
Oh, well, he's got to have MCL surgery because his knee's buckling every time he goes to kick. Yeah, I figured that would be a season ender, but
well, it depends if they're doing full surgery repair, if it's full thickness repair, or if they're just doing cleanup, you know?
Well, look at what happened with JJ McCarthy. He just had to have another surgery on his knee that had the MCL tear because he was having really bad swelling in his knee when he started to work out on it again. So they had to go back in there and clean it up some more. So now he's had 2 surgeries on his knee.
That's never good.
No.
That's never good. But at least it's happening, you know, early enough now to where it probably won't affect him next year.
Yeah.
So next up, let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs making a plea for Ben Johnson to stay. Now, we kind of started the conversation early this week that we're expecting Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn both to take positions somewhere in the league. I would be shocked absolutely shocked if either one of those guys remains in Detroit. If the Lions win the Super Bowl, I firmly feel that they're going to say our job is done. We set out to do what we wanted to do. We got it done. We accomplished it. It's time for me to go find my own team. On the flip side, you might get an opportunity for them to think, run it back. Run it back fever is real. And the fact that the Lions have so many players under contract, I think gives it a fighting chance, or at least a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
To have them both come back. But I'm not going to sail the ship just yet. So Jahmyr Gibbs makes a plea for Ben Johnson. Now, he was having a conversation with the former All-Pro cornerback Richard Sherman. Now, this conversation started with them talking about the Lions completely decimating the Cowboys, the 47-9 shellacking, where Sherman saw a team playing with revenge on its mind. And on a recent episode of his podcast, he had some questions surrounding, that game to the Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs. And he said this. He said, what y'all did to Dallas, I thought about calling the police at one point or another throughout the game. I felt like I couldn't figure out exactly what the crime was, but it was criminal. Absolutely hilarious by Richard Sherman. To little surprise, though, Gibbs confirmed that the team was indeed playing with revenge on its mind. Now, if you remember during that week, the lead up, everybody said, from Jared Goff all the way down, nope, we're just here to play the game. We're just prepping like we would any other week. Yeah, it stung last year, but nope, we're not playing with revenge. We just want to go in and play our game. Yeah, I don't think any of us believe that for a minute. Gibbs had this to say. He said, whoever thought that was right, we had to get that one back. Now, the Lions obviously had an opportunity to gain even more vengeance later, this season. They are set to travel to Levi's Stadium, which they were, which we are against the 49ers again for the second time, in 2 seasons on December 30th. Now, the 49ers ended our run last year. I would say we ended our run last year. It was our fault, not the 49ers. It was our fault that we let them back in the game. Obviously, that game still burns for all of us. Now, Gibbs likened the feelings of that game to that of Detroit's recent comeback win over the Texans, which saw the team erase a 16-point deficit in the second half and shut out the Texans to win the game. Where Gibbs said this, he said, we let that one slip, bro. We let that one slip. That was so crazy. That was like a movie too, bro. He said, like, no way this is happening. Second half, it was just like the Texans game. It just flipped, literally flipped. Now, obviously, Gibbs is having a great season. He's on his way to at least 1,300 yards rushing. Potentially might get 1,000, 500, record going here. He's well ahead of schedule to pass at least 1,000 yards, which we expect. Now, plenty of the credit, according to this article, is at the hands of Ben Johnson, who is viewed as one of the league's best coordinators and one of the top contenders for a head coaching position in 2025. Now, Johnson spurned the interest this last offseason to return to the Detroit Lions, and Gibbs is hoping he chooses to do it once again, where he had this to say. He says, it's an amazing offense to play in. Everybody gets the ball. Ben, he's a guru, bro. I ain't seen nothing like it. It gets crazy. He schemes up defenses so good. Everybody gets the ball, so none of us are left out. The line be getting the ball. Really special for the team that he came back. The chemistry was all there, and we knew what to expect. We knew the playbook, so the chemistry was all there. Hope he comes back again, man, please. So I'm right there with you. Look, I love the fact that Ben Johnson, is doing great things for this organization. I really also believe that Dan Campbell still has those fingerprints kind of all over this. And whatever Ben is doing, look, everybody knows what they're doing. Do you remember early in the offseason when we were talking about Chris Spielman and how Chris Spielman made it a point this year to go down and learn the offense? He started to sit in the rooms, started going through the meetings and learning the playbook on the offensive side of the ball.
Yep.
Kind of got people talking like, nah, couldn't be. Chris Spielman's not going to become an OC. There's no way. I don't know. I mean, I don't see him ever doing something like that. But the fact that he's really taken an interest into learning, I think the goal is you want as many people as possible in the room to know exactly what's going on with this offense with Ben Johnson, so that you have more hands on it, more eyes on it. So if and when there is a change, it's not going to hurt as bad, right? You're going to have a seamless transition. The Lions already put Tanner Engstrand with Ben Johnson to kind of learn. I'm not saying that Tanner's going to be the guy, but at least we have guys that know what's going on. The chemistry is huge, man. Having the trust in the guys is critical. But there's going to be one constant that's not going to go away, and that's Jared Goff. Jared Goff knows this offense. Jared Goff could be the play caller. He absolutely could be. He could go in and call the plays at the line if he really needed to. So I'm not really worried about losing Ben, but I am worried about losing Ben. I know that doesn't make any sense, but I'd rather see the continuity. I'd rather see the guys stay together, especially if we win a Super Bowl and have a chance to run it back. It is going to be very, very difficult to have the same success next season anytime you change a coordinator. What are your thoughts, Eric?
Yeah. Sometimes leaving for greener pastures isn't exactly the best thing in the world. Look how many times coordinators leave, become head coaches, and it implodes. And sometimes it's just better to stick with what you know. You have a family, you have your home. People, always automatically think that all these coordinators want to be head coaches. Some of them don't. Yes, Dave Phipp. Phipp has already said, I want nothing to do with being a head coach, a coordinator, other than special teams. I don't want none of it. I love being special teams. This is what I like to do. And if you got to read that thing that Phipp did an interview talking about PFF, oh, it's the funniest thing ever. He just slams PFF, talking about how none of them have never watched or played football and stuff. So if you get a chance, watch that. But with AG, does he want to be a head coach? I think he wants to be. And
AG's gone.
Yeah, with the Saints, I just think there's too many ties there for him to want to go back and coach the Saints. And that's something he's wanted to do. With Ben Johnson, I think it was brought to him. I don't think he ever aspired to be a head coach. It was something that was kind of forced upon him. And
I don't know.
I think just, request after request, I don't think anything ever felt right for him to move his family, and the Lions are paying him well, and, they could always up his salary. You never know. And I don't know how does that work with coaches and coordinators? Can they just pay them anything they want to pay them?
Pretty much. It goes towards overhead. It's not part of the salary cap. So they technically could pay them whatever they want.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure there's lots of, I don't know, like we'll set you up with a great house in this area, or, we'll get your kids in the best school kind of deals, for the coaching. We don't know all that stuff that goes into it. If there's other stuff other than just salary, there has to be a lot more that goes into these head coaching positions than just salary. Where you're going to live, what kind of school they can put your kids in, how are they going to move you? Because they all,
I would say it's like any other Fortune 500 company CEO that's moving to a different. It's no different, man. They get you set up with housing and get you all your resources. That stuff's easy. That's the easy part, I think. The hard part, I think, is, you've got to uproot and move your family, and you've got to, find and cultivate all new relationships when you land on your feet. And sometimes head coaches don't move their family. They just move themselves, and they go down there and they get set up, and their family stays where they're at. And that's the hard part, where you're separated. I don't know if Ben has talked about that much at all, but that is the hard part. And you do hear about it, where, your family might stay in Michigan and you're down in wherever, hopefully not Chicago. And you just got to make it work. So look, I fully expect Aaron Glenn to be gone. It's, I don't want to paint this picture, but I've got to paint it. It is a win-win for both Aaron Glenn and the Lions. So because of the way that the NFLPA and the collective bargaining agreements and everything was structured with what they consider minority coaches, and what the league was trying to promote, for the last many years of having more minority coaches in the higher ranks, offensive, defensive, head coach, GMs, so on and so forth. When a coach that is a defensive coordinator moves on as a head coach, the Lions would get a 3rd round pick in 25 and 26 as compensatory.
Wow.
That's huge.
Huge.
Now that you can move those picks around and trade those picks too, that's even bigger. So if he were to go straight from head coach to GM, I think it was 2 3rd round picks that you get for each respective year. Numbers could be off, but maybe it's 2 3rd round picks just for going to head coach. I'd have to look it up. At the end of the day, the Lions get rewarded by moving coaches through the ranks. And this was the issue with the 49ers and why everyone is so pissed off with the 49ers, because for whatever reason, they seem to hire the most minority coaches and they move them through the ranks and they get sent off to other teams. In the last couple of years, I mean, they didn't have any picks at all. And then all of a sudden they get like 5 or 6 compensatory picks because of all these coaching moves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really set that team up to be able to draft and bring these players in, or, pick up free agents and trading picks away. So there is some value to it. But at the end of the day, again, I will say this. Everybody that wanted Aaron Glenn gone, you need to sign the form and apologize or turn your card in. I've always been backing Aaron Glenn. I've always said he just needed his personnel. Matter of fact, the statement that I always made is we were 1/2 of one season away. We needed one more draft. That's what I've always stood on with Aaron Glenn last year. He just needed his players, and he didn't have them. He didn't have man cornerbacks. He didn't. Now we do. We have guys that can play man. He didn't have the right safety group. Now we do. We didn't have enough interior defensive line pressure. Now we do. And Jack Campbell is in his 2nd season. We didn't have, a great cast of linebackers. Well, that linebacker room has really surprised the hell out of me, because not only have we lost a couple of good ones, but they're still playing at a high level. We could still use another, outside linebacker. Absolutely. But the fact that Alex Anzalone has been a huge piece of this, Jack Campbell is really stepping up. When the Lions add another outside linebacker next year, man, it's just the riches keep on getting richer in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
We are well on our way to establishing a very strong team for many years, and it's because of the way that Brad Holmes has gone about the draft, and that's why you don't want to get rid of all your draft picks and bringing in those free agents. I'm not going to keep beating the same old drum, but it also it tells you that Aaron Glenn has had this within him, because he hasn't changed much. He hasn't changed a whole lot. He's just now putting the right player in the right scheme, his scheme, and playing the game the way that he envisions the game being played. And it's no different from last year. He was just, in my opinion, forcing players to do things maybe they weren't good at. For instance, James Houston, right? You're forcing him to be a 3-down linebacker when he's not a 3-down linebacker. Those types of things he had to do because personnel was light. They built this team by going through the draft. They didn't build this team, by just plucking guys in free agency. That wasn't the way. So it takes naturally a little bit more time for those guys to acclimate to the NFL. The game slows down, and then they're able to play. If they're a good player, if you hit on them, they'll be a good player. So that's where we're at. Good morning, Jade. How you doing, buddy?
And in the chat, Broski Bear brought something up. He says, Ben Johnson to the Bears as head coach and Eberflus to the Lions as defensive coordinator. I don't know what you're thinking, Broski Bear, but you need to go to rehab today. Drugs are not good. Drugs are bad. You need to put down whatever you're taking or smoking, and you need to go.
Allegedly. He's got some extra hot coffee this morning.
Yeah, or you need to stop the ayahuasca or the mushrooms or whatever it is.
Oh, easy, Eric.
You need to stop and go get help. You need some help, buddy.
Yeah, he's just having fun, the broski.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, that's not going to happen. Eberflus is not coming anywhere near us.
No. And listen, the Lions would bring someone up through the ranks. They would not. I highly doubt if we lost Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson that they would bring somebody in from the outside. I just don't see that. I see this as one of the, let's say, like the Patriots, where the Patriots always brought up their own guys through the ranks and then they went on to be head coaches. You're going to have a head coaching tree out of Detroit. It's going to happen for the first time ever that we are going to have coordinators leave our team to go be head coaches somewhere else. And they're going to bring a few of our other guys, say a linebacker coach or a defensive line coach or something like that might go with Aaron Glenn. And I think they're allowed to pluck one or two people off of your staff as well, lower tiered people.
Broski says, so you're Eber flushing the idea? Yeah. Is it Seam the Great? Is he the Philly fan? Is he that he just joined us? Yeah, we're definitely not throwing 8 picks with Jared Goff. That's an anomaly. That's the exception, not the rule. Number one. Can we handle your defense? We've handled every defense. I don't think that's going to change. The question is, are you going to be able to handle our defense? Because we shut down the run game. We shut down mobile quarterbacks. We make you one-dimensional. You don't have the receivers to stack up against our defense. It's a fact.
Isn't that refreshing that for the first time ever, we don't have to really worry about mobile quarterbacks?
I think we still have to worry about him. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be the best one we face this year if we do face him, right? I think that he is going to be the toughest test. But I think given the fact that, you name one running back that has had any sort of success against us this season, I wouldn't say that that's going to be any different than Saquon Barkley. Now, Saquon is Saquon, right? I mean, he's an amazing athlete. He's an amazing running back. But I just don't see anything really changing with what the Lions have been able to do. So if we meet up, we meet up. I just don't expect anything different right now with the Lions in stopping the run and being able to hold off, Jalen Hurts. That's not going to change, especially with dariussmith in the fold. As long as he stays healthy, we're just fine. Pascal has been a huge bright light. Onwuzurike staying healthy has been a huge bright light for this team. And we have probably the deepest interior defensive line out of any team in the NFL right now. We're at least top 5. We are extremely deep on the interior right now. We got guys that can play inside. We got guys that can play outside. And we are developing guys to play on the outside, and they're doing a damn good job. So when I look at the Eagles, I didn't really want to go into this today, but I will since we've got an Eagles fan in here. When you look at the Eagles, okay, so they have A.J. Brown. Is he back? Is he healthy?
Yeah, he played last night.
He did play last. I didn't watch the game. So A.J. Brown, so you've got one good receiver. Johnny Wilson, I'm sorry, I'm not impressed. And the other side, you've got Jahan Dotson, pretty good receiver. And you've got Devonta Smith, pretty good receiver. So you got Saquon Barkley. And then who do you have behind Saquon? Kenneth Gainwell? Will Shipley? I'm not impressed. So you're not extremely deep beyond your starters. If you lose anybody to injury, you're going to have a tough time maintaining. But all we have to do is shut down Saquon, contain Jalen Hurts, and the minute you put Jalen Hurts in a position where he's got to rip the ball, 35 plus times a game, now you're going up against the best safeties in the league and arguably some of the best corners in the league that on paper, they're actually playing pretty well. But on the eye test, they're playing even better. Now, Tyrion, gets a little handsy at times, but for the most part, he is growing every single week. And by the time we even get to a possibility to face the Eagles, he's going to be a totally different player. From where he started to where he will be in the playoffs, he'll be a totally different player. The stage will not be too big for him. He's played in big stages his whole life. And I think all of that stuff starts to come to a head where, these guys are feeding off of what they've done in previous opportunities, whether it's the big stage in the college championships, the college playoffs. They've been there, done that. A Nick Saban guy, look, you're getting the best of the best of the best. There's a reason why Brad Holmes brings these guys in. AJ Brown, okay, tell me one receiver that the Lions really haven't held this year. Like, who had a really good game against us? Justin Jefferson really didn't.
Yeah, we've only let, I think, one receiver get over 100 yards.
I would say that the Buccaneers game was probably the worst display with Godwin early. Godwin was just crushing us early. That was the beginning of the year.
Godwin and Ridley were the two that...
Ridley was the other one.
Yeah, those he had over 100 yards in the first quarter. Yeah. And then we shut him down the rest of the game.
So I guess for me, it's when I look at where this team began and the teams that maybe gave us a little bit of fits early off in the season, it was because of just that fact. The first quarter of the season, you're just trying to figure your own team out. And you're now putting, guys together on a field that haven't really played a whole lot together. Yeah, they went through the summer. Some of the guys were banged up throughout the summer, didn't get a ton of snaps. They didn't play any preseason really together. And so you walk through the first quarter and you're just figuring each other out. And then the second quarter, you're starting to dial it in. And now you're going to be into the third quarter and they're playing at a high level. And they have figured out how to play together. And they are getting better and better and better. I don't see the Eagles getting better. I just see the Eagles maintaining what they're doing right now. I feel like the Lions are going to continue to get better because they still have growth. They haven't played their best game yet. They really haven't. And Terrion Arnold definitely hasn't played his best game yet. We still have Emmanuel Mosley that's in the fold at some point. We have Ennis Rakestraw who's learning and getting better. But right now, I mean, between Amik Robertson and Carlton Davis and Brian Branch and Kirby, there is not another set of DBs that I would want right now than those guys. I think they're playing at such a high level, and it's only going to get better. Huge shout out to Fonzie34, $20 super chat, says, hope you feel better, Will. You and Eric are awesome. Go Lions, Detroit, grit. You know what, Fonzie34, you're awesome, buddy. Appreciate your donation to Rock Down Cancer Foundation. Always welcomed and always appreciated. And, you've been like a number one guy since the beginning of this channel. Let's get you Gibbs TD since we were just talking about Gibbs a moment ago.
Gibbs bounces through a hole. There it goes outside 20. Gibbs 15. Gibbs 10. Angling to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, baby, what a run.
So to finish this little off-topic subject, and Seam, thank you for joining us this morning, Philly fan. I would say if we had to play in Philly, yeah, it's going to be tough. But if we're at home, forget about it. But the way I would finish this off, and into Lauren McQuaig's point, we can't forget about Ife Melifonwu, another great depth piece, if and when we need him, no pun intended. Emmanuel Mosley, again, a guy that was playing at such a high level before he suffered a couple of really bad injuries. I'm going to put him, way back in the way back because I just don't think that we're going to need him or get to him. We'd have to suffer some injuries for that to happen. He's not going to come in and start over Terrion. There's no way. Who's playing right now is going to continue to play. Emmanuel Mosley is not going to see the field. And even if he does, it's going to be special teams, in my opinion. We'll see where that goes. Hands down. You heard Herm Edwards this morning. The Lions are the best team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I believe it. The only challenge we have in front of us right now is staying healthy, lock it up the North, and get the 1 seed. If those three things happen, this Super Bowl is ours, and I put my stamp on it right now. You are not going to beat us at home. That is the path to the Super Bowl for the Lions. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, this is happening. And I want to tell everyone to just stop, take a breath, soak it all in every Sunday and Thursday from here on out. Enjoy every win, enjoy every minute of this, because this is something that is so special and beyond anything we've ever seen as Lions fans. You think last year was great as a Lions fan? Last year is nothing compared to this year. This year is going to be so much better and so much more special. We are going to break records that you've never seen before. Starting this Sunday, the Lions are going to go to 9-1. And that is a record the Lions have never had in the history of the Detroit Lions. We have never started a season 9-1. And 8 games in a row would be the longest win streak in Lions history. So we can make history this weekend. We can witness history this weekend. It's going to be awesome.
Yep. Bo Booth, embrace the moment. Absolutely. Broski Bear even says, that's what I'm saying, man. Enjoy the ride. Jade Rock says, what were the Lions' record thus far into the season last year? I think that we were 8-2.
Yeah.
So close. Or were we 8-3?
I have to look at last.
It was close, but we didn't have the start. I mean, we started 1-5, right? And then we dropped the Packers game.
Yeah, on Thanksgiving.
Who else did we drop to? I don't remember. Eric will look it up. I got to get going here in just a moment. So Seed the Great, again, thank you for joining us this morning. Appreciate you coming in from Philly. And look, man, if you know it gets to that time where we're facing each other in the playoffs, you want to come in on talk on the show, just reach out. mailbag@rockdown.com. Be more than happy to have any Philly fans in if you guys want to talk about it. If we get there, but you got to make it there first, right? And we'll see you there if we need to be. Just don't play the Packers. If you got to play the Packers in the playoffs, I don't think you win that game. So I got to get going, but I wanted to end with this prediction for the game. And again, tonight, join me for the fight around 7:45. I'm going to jump on and just have some fun. I think it's going to be an enlightening night to see what happens. I really hope that Tyson shows up. 35-13. That's my call for the game. 35-13. I think that, you know, the Lions could definitely drop a 50 burger on this team. I think they could drop a 40 burger on this team, but I'm going to withhold some of this energy and I'm going to say the Lions just go in and play a good solid game. They just got to get out early. They got to press the gas early, get up. And then I want to see the fourth quarter, you know, be full of the replacements, man, and get some of these guys, you know, some action. At every opportunity, I hope that Dan Campbell has it on the forefront that if we have big leads like this into the fourth quarter, more than 3.5 scores, you've got to get the backups in to get some time. Number one, you want to reduce the opportunity for injury. Number two, they need time because you never know when you're going to need them. Like we've seen all season, you just never know when you're going to have to call somebody's number. And Dan knows that. I'm not telling him anything he doesn't know. But I would love to see the Lions have an opportunity to get these guys some rest, you know, especially some of the guys that are battling, you know, some injuries each and every week. I wanted to end with a quote about Aaron Glenn and then take your final words to Eric. But this is what Dan Campbell said about Aaron Glenn. And I thought it was just great, man. He said, first of all, he's salt of the earth. He's an unbelievable human being. He's a man of high character. He's a grinder. Nobody works harder or longer than he does. He's a student of the game. For a guy that has learned so much, he wants to learn more and more. He's just constantly looking up better ways to do things, other ideas. I think he's strategic. The things that we go into the game with to attack opponents, I think it's some of the best in the league. And then this next statement I thought was just the epitome of what Aaron Glenn really is. And that is he doesn't have bad days. He's not one of these guys. And then Dan kind of switched. He's like, he can get pissed off. Believe me, he's a fiery guy, but he just doesn't live like that. Everything is, hey, you tell me what it is. You tell me what we've got, and we're going to make it work, and we're going to make the most of it, and we'll be good. And he's just positive. He's upbeat. He's a grinder. I can't say enough great words about him. Everybody respects him, and those guys play. They play hard for him. Aaron Glenn is going to make a great head coach. And so for all of you Lions fans that doubted Aaron Glenn, not only is he going to help us and lead us to the promised land here of a Super Bowl, but you're going to watch this guy flourish as a head coach. When you see players play the way that they do, go look at any other team in the NFL. And you show me an opportunity, because I know it doesn't exist. Like, we just went through all the numbers, 5 interceptions, down by more than 15, hasn't happened, 40 years, whatever it was. You go look at another team that's in that situation. Are those guys really fighting for their coaches? Not just their head coach, but their DC or their OC? Are they really fighting to try to win that game? Or are they just, like my son said about Philly, they just going to fold up like a lawn chair? All I see is these guys fighting. And that is the respect that these players have for a guy like Aaron Glenn. That is the respect that they have for a guy like Terrell Williams and Dan Campbell and everybody, Ben Johnson, and everybody else that is leading this team. When you have a winning formula like the Lions do right now, that is how you're able to do what they just did against the Texans. It's going to be a fun weekend, man.
Yeah.
Eric, what do you want to finish with?
All right, so I'll give you guys my predictions for the game. In the preseason, before the season even started, the Lions were 4-point favorites in this game. They had an over-under of 50 points. And I predicted the Lions were going to defeat the Jaguars 35-17. And I'm going to keep my prediction at 35-17. Maybe less points for the Jaguars, maybe more points for the Lions, but I have predicted the exact score twice this year, and I changed my prediction at the last minute. If I would have stuck with my preseason prediction, I would have gotten 2 scores absolutely correct this year. So I'm going to stick with my predictions for the rest of the year, even though the Lions are favored in every single game for the rest of the season.
You say 35-17?
35-17.
And I'm 35-13. That's crazy.
Yep.
Okay. Well, there it is. 35-13 is my prediction. 35-17 is Eric's. Look, I think that they're going to get a couple of, field goals. It's indoors. It's a friendly place to kick. I just don't see this team doing much on offense. I mean, we could be surprised. I don't know. We could be surprised, but I just don't see it happening, man. This team is beat up. And last night listening to Treese, I mean, what a great guest, by the way, and hopefully future partner that Talking Football Podcast. Go find them anywhere you can find them. Apple, Spotify, soon to be YouTube. But check them out. Riley O'Brien will do a good job posting it in the chat where you can find them. Go ahead and post a link to a show or something, Riley. But listening to these guys, I mean, look, they're not going to, they're not going to mince words here. This is not shaping up to be a good game for the Jags. You've got Mac Jones coming in. They don't really have any confidence in Mac Jones. You've got some potential offensive line issues, and you've got one of the best defensive lines in the league right now, doing big time things. This is the number 2 rated defense, right? And they are winning. I mean, they're beating everybody at their own game. I can only imagine had this Lions team stayed healthy, what would have been for them. But at the same time, would it have been the same outcome? That's the question we're never going to be able to answer. Would this team be playing at the rate that it is right now had they not suffered some injuries? Think about that today. I know what you're probably going to say because of your passion for Aiden Hutchinson, but think about it. You never know. Anyway, it's hunting season. Yeah. The Lions are going to be hunting this weekend. It's opening day. I hope everybody stays healthy out there. If you ever have any extra deer jerky, you just let me know. I'll be more than happy to consume some. But other than that, be safe. Of course, One Pride all day long. Go Detroit Lions, go One Pride. We'll see you guys back here tonight about 7:45 to highlight the Tyson fight and just have a little fun, chat, hang out, whatever it is. I'm going to have some fun with it. So you guys have a great night. Eric, hope to see you on Sunday. I'm still trying to work it out. We'll see if I can make it happen. I'm feeling a little bit better.
Anybody wants to get together on Sunday, I am going to get in line very early, probably about 10:30, 10:45-ish. So if you want to see me, come to the stadium early. And I'm getting one of those Demo bobbleheads to go with Jahmyr Gibbs and all my friends back behind me here.
There you go. All right, you guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys in the next one. And 35-13 is my call. Eric, 35-17. Lions win against the Jags. We'll be highlighting more on game day if I am home. But if I'm not home, we'll see you guys next week. You guys take care. Go in pride. Go Detroit Lions. See you later.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from uperlights.com.